Hi and welcome to another video. And today's video is really going to be about a couple of things, but mainly my recent experience running my local 10K, the Bognor 10K, how I was looking to go sub 40 at the age of 58, how that went, what I learned from it, and what you potentially could learn from it as an older runner as well. And also the general state of running and a few other bits and bobs that I think may be interesting from a mindset point of view for an older runner. Now, before I get started, I'm in an unusual location. I'm in my conservatory. My daughter works for Virgin Atlantic Long Haul. She's just come back from a flight and it's wise not to wake her up in the day. It really is. So that's why I'm out here. And so let's crack on. So it's been 2 years since the Bognor 10K's been run. For me, the 10K is a nemesis. In my 50s, I feel more confident about getting PBs at marathon, half marathon, 10 mile, and weirdly even 5K. 10K seems to be, I don't know if it's my age, obviously has an impact, or just the type of runner I am. But I find the distance a real challenge, which is really interesting because a lot of people, when they hear I'm running a 10K, will turn around and go, well, you'll do that easy because the distance is really relatively easy when you're training for things like marathons, which is what I've been doing recently. Just had Brighton Marathon on the 10th of April, ran 3:28 for that. And I feel I can improve on that. So I can understand people's kind of view that that's pretty easy to run a 10K. What I find challenging is to keep that 5K distance up for the duration of the 10K. So initially, first thing I'm talking about is how that went. Well, as we all know with older runners, it's never straightforward. So on the Monday, the week before I ran the 10K, I hurt my back. Luckily, I spent the whole week rehabbing it and felt really great on the Saturday night. Then run was on the Sunday. So that felt really good. And my wife said, "You want to come upstairs?" I thought, "Oh, well." And she went, "No, don't worry. I just need you to help me put the duvet on." Such is married life for a 58-year-old man. So I said, "Yeah, of course." And we got up there and my wife went up, but I also want the bed turning over, right? The mattress. I don't know if this is a thing. My wife seems to like it, to turn it over every now and again. And you've guessed it, my back went again as I was doing this thing. So I went downstairs, grumbling to myself, and proceeded to stretch out. Next morning, I woke up and was stiff as a board, and yet again, not in a good way. I really was very uncomfortable. So I proceeded a lot of stretching and grumbling and moaning and some paracetamol, which I'm very, very, take very little. But got myself to 10K, felt very stiff, warmed up and was really not mentally in a good place, but got to the point where I felt I could at least move well enough to run. My goal was to go sub 40. I knew that it was always going to be tight, that I'll never glide through this. So I started out, I'm not stats in front of me, I think around the first 5K in 19 minutes and 35 seconds. That's a PB for me for 5K. Now, there's an interesting bit. I'm actually quite confident that I can improve on that 5K distance. This is the weird thing. And I think the interesting thing for older runners is that it's a bit like boxing. I think they say punching power goes last, the speed goes first in boxers. And I think depending on how you've run throughout your life and your fast twitch muscles and all that sort of thing, speed is the first thing to naturally go, but the endurance is the last thing to go. I suppose looking back at running when I was at school, I could do the shorter endurance distances as well, like 400, 800, 1500 meters. So I'm confident that actually one day I can run faster than even I ran on that first 5K. Now, it's got to be said, the day for the UK at least was hot. I don't want to moan about that because, to be honest, it would have been worse if it had been windy. I hate running against the wind. So it wasn't windy. It was a beautiful day, but it was warm. Some of you that watch outside of the UK may not think it's that warm when compared to some of the weather we get globally. But so here, 1935 at the halfway point. So I was on for sub 40. Now, as I turned onto the seafront, which is normally a nemesis point for a lot of runners on the Bognor 10K because normally the wind hits you coming that way, it wasn't the case. So all looked good. I was feeling a bit tired, but I was feeling okay. Problem is that this is where I don't know if my back made a difference. The analogy I gave to my wife was it was a bit like running with the handbrake slightly applied. I wasn't in a lot of pain. I don't know if it was the paracetamol just loosening up. Can't say I was in a lot of pain when I was running, but I think I was having to work harder. And I could tell that I was working harder to keep within the bounds of distance. And I could see the 40-minute pace. Now, I knew he'd gone off a bit earlier than me, so I knew that even if I didn't overtake him, I'd still probably do sub 40, but I could see that he was pulling away. And this is the interesting bit, that you can lose a race purely on seconds. You looked at my splits, there's no massive drop-off, like suddenly going from, say, 6 30-minute miles to suddenly 7.5 minutes. There's no massive drop-off, but the drop-off is enough. When we did about a mile, I just did not feel I had the pickup in my run to really, really pick it up. And as I came round to near the finishing line, about 500 meters from the finishing line, my wife saw me and she said that I was running like I was slightly lopsided. So I definitely think the back was making a difference. So I ended up running 40 minutes and 48 seconds. Now, the interesting bit on this was everybody I told, oh, God, right. But I was pretty accepting of it. And I think that's the other thing I want to kind of share as an older runner. I think acceptance isn't the same as giving up. I may never run sub 40, 10K. I don't know. It's not the same as giving up, though. I'm going to give it another go, particularly as my back's hurting, or at least stiff. I think I've probably got it in me. But if I haven't, that was the fastest I've run 10K since 2008. So it's now 2022 and I'm 58. So I take that on board. So I was pleased. Yes, it's close. Yes, you can look back on the run and think back and go, what if? And that's good to learn from, as a runner, to learn from it, then that's a great thing. But to beat yourself up about it, it's not worth it. Not if you've done your best, performed your best in what was in front of you on the day, i.e. how you felt physically and the conditions that you ran. And I look back on that and I think, yeah, I did. Physically I wasn't 100%. Conditions-wise, it was a great day, but it was warm. So yeah, I'm okay with that. So lessons that I would say is, if you're looking at a 10K, I think training for a 10K is an odd thing because people look at it like a speed distance. But like I said earlier, I've got speed at that first 5K, and I think I could improve on that. The question is, can I improve on that, keeping that pace up? So it becomes an endurance race. but at speed. I've got endurance yet again, comfortable running long distances in my training, but not at that pace. And I think that's the real challenge of a 10K. And I think particularly as you get older, if you're looking to perform 10K, if you to get round, then it does become, depending on your ability and where you are, that's become very much like endurance race. And this leads me on to my other point, which was it was fantastic to see. I know the race director very well, a friend of mine called Duncan, and he's worked so hard to get this event up and going throughout, with all the obstacles that the pandemic would have thrown at him over the last 2 years. And to get it going on this Sunday and to see all the runners out there with all differing abilities, and some pandemic's been really hard on them, and to see the crowds out there, cheering them on a beautiful day was amazing. And I think as I get older, that's something that's stepped more into my running. Is I'm quite a solitary soul by nature, but it used to be all about result. And I found myself at the end of this run, standing with friends after I'd run, just really engaging with the other runners as they were coming in, seeing their story in a way shown as they ran. The people that were coming in weighing over an hour, they'd been out in the heat for over an hour. They weren't looking, to be in that certain number of finishers, or they wanted to get round, and they had their own personal goals, and they were fighting their own demons, so to speak. And that was amazing. And I enjoyed that, as much as my run, really, see that. And I think it was more pertinent and emotional with everything that's happened over the last 2 years as well. To see that release of energy from the runners, and not only that, the release of energy from the crowds as well. I noticed that a lot. I'm running Brighton Marathon and the Bognor 10K. The engagement with people is so high post-pandemic. And I think that's something else as well to really consider, to get that connection. I think is really important, because we all want to get faster, we all want to get better, but the reality as we get older is we will get slower. We won't always run a PB. We won't always be able to do that. So there needs to be something else as well, or our running becomes very empty, I would imagine. And I'm very mindful of that, is that I want to continue improving. I'd love to be, I'm 58 now, I'd love to be one of the best 70-year-old, 60-year-old runners in the world. That's the driver for me. But it's not the only driver. And I feel that's an important thing to share, that if you're looking, say, as a runner, an older runner, and you're looking to do a 10K and you're looking to improve, then build up that endurance. And that's important, and do those things. But also remember that you're not a professional runner, that you're an amateur runner. I'll finish the video on a quote from a friend of mine around work, and it is related to running. And we were talking about work, and we were talking about enjoying our work. And he said to me, yeah, but even if you enjoy your work, if no one paid you, would you go? Or would you go as often? And I thought, no, I probably would. And I think probably people watching this would probably agree. They probably would. Now, what's that related to running? Well, it's related to running because we don't actually get paid to do this. And actually, I've got people that pay me to coach them. So they're actually paying me, let alone getting me. So if you're committing that to something in your own time, then you've got to enjoy it. And I think if it comes just round to just be about PBs, then as you get older, it can become empty. And I think you have to find that connection with yourself as a runner and what's important to you, what you value about your running beyond the running, family, the connection with other runners, whatever it is. So that propels you forward through those runs where you do fall short by a bit, by a lot, because that was my thoughts on this 10K. I fell short by quite a little bit, and it just propels me forward to try again, but also it propels me to say that I had a great day because of the reasons that I pointed out. So hopefully this has helped in some small way. If so, please give the channel a like or subscribe. It helps with the algorithm and all that good stuff. And any comments you've got below, and I'd love to hear from them about what you've got, about your experiences with 10Ks or running in general. Anyway, bye for now.